Hello! This is a vid where I will be covering a couple of topics, plus answering some questions and making an announcement. So let's get down to it after the cut. Okay, as the title says, this is this is the part where I'm going to talk about Digital Foundry's 59 versus 60 frames per second for Mario Kart 8. Really? 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 First of all, you'd have to be Superman or someone or have the eyes of a hawk or an eagle to know that, to tell the difference between 60 frames per second and 59 frames per second. You'd have to be able to do that. You'd have to literally or either have a stopwatch and clock it in. I mean, and who's going to do that while they're playing a game? Oh, God. Digital Foundry, you people are stupid. Second, and just as importantly, people who are sitting here and saying, it's not 1080p, it's 720p. Look, listen. I'm going to let you in a little secret, okay? Anything above 600p is considered high definition, okay? 720p is high definition. 1080p is higher definition, but they're both high definition, okay? And once you start getting up to 4000p, oh my God, you can't even tell the difference. To the naked eye, you can't tell the difference. It does not matter, okay? Doesn't matter. It's unimportant. People, play your games. Stop worrying about stupid stuff like that, okay? Just stop it. We'll get into the next topic after the cut. This next topic is dealing with Ubisoft appearing to drop support for the Wii U. Yeah. Okay. Like, here's the thing, okay? I've heard quite a few people in this community say that Ubisoft has been supporting the Wii U with what? I mean, can you say that with a straight face? Okay. Ubisoft has given us, let's see. Whew, what has Ubisoft given us? Let's see. They gave us Zombie U, which was a half-assed, which was a port of a game that was an Xbox 360 game. And it was missing, which Zombie U was a very atmospheric, fun game to play, but it had some issues that could have been fixed had they taken the time and effort to really, you know, you can tell the game was rushed, okay? It was rushed. They delayed the second game that was supposed to come out for the Wii U. 6 months to port it over to the Xbox 360, PS3, PlayStation Vita, Xbox One, and PS4. Never mind that the Wii U version still sold the most. And it was a flop on all the other platforms except for the Wii U. That was Rayman Legends, by the way. Let's see, what else? They released 2 Dance Central games because, yeah, people love to dance. They gave us a port of one of the most boring Assassin's Creeds I've ever played in my life, Assassin's Creed 3, which, I mean, let's be frank, that game, like, here's the thing, Assassin's Creed is getting so old and stale now that I'm just getting tired of seeing it. Then they gave us a port of Xbox 360 port of Assassin's Creed 4 with no DLC. Zero. Zilch. Zip. Okay. Then And I mean, these are Ubisoft's primary IPs. Oh wait, I forgot. Splinter Cell. They gave us Splinter Cell with a broken while they delayed Rayman Legends in order to port it over to every console under the sun. I'm surprised it wasn't on PS2 and GameCube and Super Nintendo, Genesis, and the Lynx. They wouldn't delay Splinter Cell and gave us a broke inferior version with no local multiplayer and a broken online that's still broken even now, okay? And they published Sniper Elite V2 with literally the Wii U version only had 30% of the features of every other version of that game. On the, for the Xbox 360, PS3, PC. We got the shittiest version. So basically, that is 8 reasons why I really do not give a shit about Ubisoft and them pulling support. If this is their idea, if those examples of Ubisoft's games are the example of support from Ubisoft, fuck Ubisoft. The only caveat is that we got Child of Light, which is a downloadable title. Nothing wrong with downloadable titles. I've been having fun with mine, but I mean, it was a downloadable title. There's nothing really special about that. So, I mean, 8 fucked up things, 1 good thing. I think the fucked upness outweighs the good thing, okay? Now, to be fair, they've only 14% of their total profits came from the Wii U. I do believe that could have been higher had Ubisoft not tried to screw over the Nintendo install base, because I'm going to let you in on a little secret about Nintendo gamers. We are spoiled, we aren't spoiled. We're used to being treated well, okay? Nintendo treats us well. Sony, Nintendo treats us well. And because of this, we preferred to be treated well by companies that sell games to us. Ubisoft hasn't done itself any real favors in regards to dealing with us. So, fuck them. Fuck them. Fuck them. Good. I don't want your shitty games on my console. We'll deal with the next portion of this video after the cut. This is an addendum to the last video. I completely forgot Watch Dogs, which at this point, given Ubisoft's track record for putting games on the Wii U, it might be a steaming pile of shit on the Wii U. I hope it isn't, because I really want to play that game, and I'm going to buy it for the Wii U. Even though I have a PS3, I could easily get it on the PS3. Ubisoft's track record has not been good porting games to the Wii U. It hasn't. So I don't know if it's gonna. I don't have much confidence. So even if Watch Dogs is a resounding success on the Wii U, Ubisoft has done everything in their power to sabotage it. And so that's, if it's great, you add it to the list of good things. But it's still 2 to 8 or 1 to 4. It's a 1 to 4 ratio. So 25% of the time Ubisoft pulls it off well for the Wii U. The other 3 times it's a total wash. So just want to get that out the way. Okay, this next section is me dealing with user submitted questions. I'm just getting to the end of these because I was going to record this. I'm adding them to the end of this video because I was going to do a separate section, but it just didn't make sense for me to record 2 different videos when I could get it all in one. So I'm gonna get into this, but I might make a separate series just to deal with user submitted questions. So here we go. Our first question comes from Kevin Front. His question is, do you think they, as in Sony, should drop the Vita? Honestly, I say they should because that thing is not doing so well against the 3DS. And Nintendo's been king of the handheld market for quite some time yet now. I don't see the Vita lasting much longer. Okay, and good question, Kevin. Here's the thing. I don't know why Sony made the Vita. I don't have a clue. I have no idea why they made the Vita. I don't have a clue why they made the Vita. Like, I would love to have been a fly on the wall who could understand Japanese and heard that pitch meeting for the Vita, because it's like no one at Sony has ever opened a history book, okay? A business history book, okay? Nintendo basically dominates the handheld console market. And yes, I'm calling handheld consoles because if you can play console-style games on a handheld, sometimes within the same generation, then that's a console, okay? And even back in the day with the original Game Boy, it was basically a console. I mean, you had NES games being ported over to the Game Boy. Okay, NES, a console, ported over to the Game Boy. The Game Boy was actually more powerful than the NES. So, I mean, you're talking about a handheld console that just was stomping all over its competition. And during that time, during the reign of the Game Boy, numerous handhelds came out that Nintendo just stomped on in all of its iterations that were better, more technologically advanced, had more doohads and doohickeys, and were just better technologically than the Game Boy. But the Game Boy crushed them because Nintendo had the games and Nintendo had the price point. And, you know, it's their market. It's the market that they themselves built. I mean, it's their if there's a market that is Nintendo's, it's the handheld console gaming market. And I know what some people want to say, well, what about phones? Look, when you can get a decent handheld gaming experience on a smartphone, when you can play a decent Mario-style platformer or an in-depth RPG on a smartphone that you can play on your Game Boy, whatever, DS, 3DS, whatever Nintendo's next handheld will be, when you can do that, then I'll say the phone market is really hurting it. But that's not the case. Okay, Nintendo has Pokemon, which still has a huge install base. Nintendo has Mario, which has a huge install base. Zelda, a huge install base. All these games. Nintendo can afford to be really, really experimental and to do new, different things with their handhelds that they can't really afford to do so much on their consoles. So the handheld gives them the ability to experiment and try new, interesting things, and then bring that to the console and say, okay, this works, bring it over, which gives them a real edge against against their competitors. So, Kevin, that's what I'm gonna say. The Vita, Sony's not even supporting their Vita. Okay, they aren't. They're money-hatting exclusive games to come to it, because that's the only excuse, because the sales aren't there. The sales for the Vita aren't there. Sony is like selling 3,000, 5,000 Vita a week in Japan, versus like, in some cases, it's like a 3-to-1, it's like a 3-to-1 sales for the 3DS. The 3DS is killing the Vita in Japan. The 3DS is killing the Vita in the US. The 3DS is killing. Basically, I don't know why Sony made the Vita. They can't, and Sony cannot afford to support the PS4, the PS3, and the Vita. They can't afford it. They can't afford to support these consoles. That's 3 consoles they have to support. They can't afford it. Sony should just say fuck it and just quietly just drop the Vita. Just say, you know what? Sorry, it's a nice handheld. It's a nice handheld, but if you're not going to support it, then what's the point? I mean, I upgraded from a 3DS to a from a 3DS normal to 3DS original to a 3DS XL. When I bought the XL, a friend of mine was like, "Why don't you get a Vita?" And I laughed. I'm like, "Bro, why would I get a Vita? Why?" For like 2 games? I'm not spending $100 for 2 games, plus $50 for a decent memory stick. That's stupid. So yeah, Sony should just drop the Vita. It needs to go. The Vita needs to go. The Vita needs to go. Our next question comes from Nintendo Power. Nintendo and Sony should cut the BS, get together and build what they were supposed to build back when. Most people will disagree because they are either extreme pro Sony or extreme pro Nintendo or extreme anti both LOL. I, on the other hand, wouldn't mind seeing that come true. One can dream, can't they? Okay, to answer your question, Nintendo Power, no. And I'm not saying this as someone who's primarily a Nintendo gamer. I'm saying this as someone who owns a business. Considering how Sony has run their business into the ground, and here's the thing, a lot of people are going to say, oh, this is just recent. No. When you've been losing money like Sony's been losing for over 10 years, the seeds for this fucked upness were sown 20, 25 years ago. Okay? Basically, back when Sony was in talks with Nintendo to do this stuff, was when the seeds for all of these losses were being sown. Nintendo would have to be a damn fool to get in bed with a company like Sony. Not to mention that Sony does a lot of dirty, backhanded things. And Nintendo, I mean, I'm not saying that Nintendo is a saint company, but they are a lot more on the level about shit than Sony is. And no. Especially seeing how Sony supports their first-party IPs. There's no way in hell I would want to see Nintendo IPs being used on Sony platforms. No. Fuck no. Nintendo IPs would be hoarded out, cheaped out, and generally done by inferior developers. Because I don't care how good... I know Sony fans will say that Sony's first-party IPs are awesome. They aren't. Okay? Sony's first-party IPs are okay. Compared to Nintendo IPs, they're inferior. Okay? They're really inferior. It's like comparing... Let me put it this way. Nintendo's IPs are basically... Let's say Nintendo is a burger place and Sony is a burger place. Nintendo's IPs are like burgers that have been made with ground chuck top sirloin, a little bit of pork fat, maybe some bacon fat ground up in there, lovingly handcrafted with the perfect fat to beef ratio, and you take a bite out the burger, the juices just drizzle down your face. Sony's shit is like a McDonald's hamburger or cheeseburger. I mean, it might taste good, but it's not crafted all. It's not like the best burger ever. It'll get the job done, but it's not. It's just, It's, and those are two totally different families of thought. So no, Sony and Nintendo never need to be together because, Sony was at its best when it was competing against Nintendo. If it didn't have that level of competition, we wouldn't have gotten such great IPs as Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, and Medieval and Medieval 2. We wouldn't have gotten those games, or PaRappa the Rapper, or Ape Escape. We wouldn't have gotten those games because of that competition between those two companies. Now, when Microsoft entered the fray, that's when Sony the quality of their games really started going down the tubes. But, that's another story for another day. Stay tuned for the conclusion after the cut. Okay then, I'm back, and this is the conclusion along with my announcement. Woo! In in conclusion, there hasn't been too much stupidity going on. Last week, Microsoft lowered their Xbox One price, and that was pretty smart. Sooner than I anticipated, too. Right before E3. But, you know, they're going to have to bring the games, E3. Sony's going to have to bring the games. A lot of games are getting delayed. How about that next-gen gaming drought? Nintendo's going to bring the games. And here's the thing. Even all the games that they said they're going to bring and that we think they're going to bring, Nintendo always has some surprises in their back pocket. So it's going to be even better than we anticipate. Which leads me to my announcement. I will be doing a podcast this Friday at 6 p.m. from 6 to 8:30. The time may change. I'm leaving it open to whoever wants to join. I have room for like 4 more people, so 5 in total, including myself. We'll be covering viewer-submitted questions, which you can leave in the comment section of this video. We'll be handling this podcast will talk about what we want to see from the big 3 and any third-party people who are going to be there that, you know, we care about. So for E3. So boom. I'm out. Any questions that I'm not going to be able to get to in the podcast, I will get to in a later video dealing with those. So thank you and have a good day.